Set the recording. Okay, and now I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is live session 2. I'm going to go over some of the things that for the first class, some feedback on the first class, and then I'm going to talk about what you need to do for this week. So I like quotes. If you have brilliant ideas but can't get them across, your idea won't go anywhere. Lee Iacocca created the Mustang for Ford and then became CEO of Chrysler. Okay, so for your discussion board postings. Now, this did not really apply to the video because that was a very different kind of discussion. But when they're content driven, like it is this week, your initial posting should have a minimum of 175 words, and your reply should have a minimum of 75 words. You should use citations and references for your original or initial posting, and your citations and references must match. Focus your replies on content, not your experience. Make sure you include all requirements and submit the original posting by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Starting this week, there will be deductions for postings that come in after Thursday at 11:59 p.m. I said this to you last week, you never know what the end of the week is going to bring, so it's a good idea to get your participation done as soon as you can. I was sort of surprised, this is the highest I've ever had, that about 50% in one class and 60% in the other class of their postings were on Sunday. I don't think that's the best practice. I would get my postings done as soon as I could. But, excuse me. What do I mean when I say substantive? I mean, it should be detailed, it should be well thought out. It's okay if you don't agree with the author or the person who's speaking in the video, but tell me why you don't agree with them. If you want to push back politely with evidence, and you can even do that to a classmate's posting and say you don't agree with them and say why. You could request from your classmates clarification. You don't understand what they said. You can expand on your original posting or expand on someone else's posting with additional information. Important thing is to have respect that not everybody sees things the same way. Substantive could also mean that you've applied the concepts to your workplace and your experience. You can ask questions of somebody to probe deeper. When you are doing your initial posting, summarize the readings. Don't just quote. Quoting doesn't tell me that you understand what you saw or what you read. Share personal experience based on what you've read or what you viewed. If you notice a pattern, some people compared things last week, and that's a great thing to do. And you want to develop a conclusion that shows that you have some insight into the topic. On your replies, focus on content. You do not want to say things like, I think, I feel, I believe, I enjoy, I love, I agree. You want to have more content. And unless otherwise stated, you have to have 3 replies to each discussion each week. Your paper. Now, 3 of you are in the class that I sent your papers back today. 1 of you is in the class that I haven't finished grading yet. I was saying earlier that I had a graduate class that ended on Sunday night, and I was up till after 11 last night because some of the papers were over 70 pages long. I really thought at some point I was going to just pass out. So your paper needed to use a business situation. It's really a good idea to use headings. There were 3 components of the paper this past week. It was the miscommunication, it was the barriers, it was the process improvement. So those could be your 3 headings. Some people only did miscommunication and process improvement. That would be okay too. But to have the whole thing just as one long essay is probably not as good an idea. As I said, you need to use citations and references, and they must match. I'm looking, not surprisingly, in a business communications class, for your writing to be clear and concise. If you can say something in 5 words, don't say it in 15. I'm much more interested in content than word count. I want you to demonstrate that you understand the concepts and that you did include something that went wrong in an improved process. So what do I mean, excuse me, by an improved process? It's something more than a simple solution. Now, in the first class that I graded, one of the things I had said in the directions was a simple process would be don't talk to somebody while they're on the phone, or if they speak another language, speak their language. Nobody did that, which is good in the first class. I'm hoping the second class is the same. So what is a process improvement? It's systematic. It's something that would apply to different people in a similar situation. A process improvement is not saying someone would do their job. A process improvement is not saying if this person would have done that, it would have improved. That is not a process improvement. A process improvement is creating new policies, new procedures, a checklist that if something didn't happen, you create a checklist to make sure that from now on, the checklist is followed. That's a process improvement. Written documentation is a process improvement. You know, it's who's responsible? What are the deadlines? What are the requirements? What are the sign-offs? What do sign-offs mean? Years ago, I had what I called a traffic manager in the marketing department. And her role was to make sure that all projects were managed effectively. Well, I asked her one day when a certain thing would be ready, and she told me. And when that day came, I said to her, "Where is it?" And she said, "Well, I sent it to the printer this morning." I said, "I asked when it would be ready." Well, my definition of ready is when it goes to the printer. I had no idea we had different definitions of ready. And therefore, I created a new documentation with sign-offs, deadlines, and where everything was going to be. That's a process improvement. Reminders, initial posting by Thursday. Write substantive comments. Use your textbook at minimum as citations and references. Submit 3 peer replies by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. The quizzes, the discussions, and the drop boxes all lock on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. If you miss a quiz, if you didn't finish it, I can open it up for you. Excuse me. Sorry, this is my allergies acting up. It's not COVID or anything else. The discussions cannot be opened up. The quizzes can be by request, and the Dropbox, if you miss the deadline, all you have to do is send me an email with your paper as a Word document attachment. You don't need to ask, just do it. I can't believe how many people did not put their name on their paper. Always put your name on any assignment. Please, to help me, save your document with the week number and your name. So for me, it would be 2 Ellison. For Marshall, it would be 2 Kozma. Hopefully I'm saying that right. It's number 2 for week 2 and your last name. I asked for last name since several people have the same first name. Always a Word attachment. I got one paper this Sunday that was in Pages. I don't know what Pages is, but I can't open it. I already talked about citations and references. Use business examples and use always something a little more complex. So the general feedback for week 1 was develop a process improvement that can be used by others in a similar situation. Develop insightful conclusions. And the 4C filter is a really good thing for you to do when you're ready to submit your paper. Is it clear? Can I follow your ideas and train of thought? Is it concise? Does it make points in as few words as possible? Is it cogent? Does it make sense? Is it logical? Is it supported by evidence? And comprehensive, did you address all of the requirements? Double space your papers, use white space between paragraphs, that applies to postings too. You capitalize the names of people, companies, but not departments, functions, or job titles. Avoid unnecessary words. Very is completely unnecessary word. If you say something is important, to say very important doesn't make it any more so. The word unique means there's nothing else like it. So I have no idea what very unique means. And if you keep using that everything is great, it really means nothing is great. Unnecessary phrases, due to the fact that, in order to. You may notice that if you use the phrase in order to or order for in Word, it underlines it because it's not necessary. You just need to or for, as well as just use and, just to name a few. Those are unnecessary phrases. Cliches. These are phrases that people use all the time that they don't add any value at all. Last but not least, first and foremost, with that being said, goes without saying, each and every down the road, you just don't need those kinds of phrases in your paper. Get rid of them. Wordos is my word for something that is spelled correctly, but it's the wrong word. You just wouldn't believe how many mangers work in companies. Weather with an WH means like whether or not. The other weather means what's that going on outside. Then is sequential. Than is a comparison. Companies with an apostrophe S means belonging to the company. If it's several companies, it's IES. Try to avoid ending sentences with prepositions, words like in, on, for, with. The first paper, and I have no idea why, has only 3 grading categories, which means that each grading category is worth a lot more points. So if you had 2 grading categories that were not marked as exemplary, that got you down to an 8.7 grade. All the other papers have 5 grading categories, so that situation will disappear. Superlatives. They are rarely true and difficult to prove. All, always, every, never, perfect. I graded a paper today, and I don't think it was this group, and they said, this always has been and always will be. How can you predict the future? What do you know what's going to happen in the future? Everyone thinks this. Seriously, you know what every single person thinks? The one I love is everyone in the world loves Apple. Everyone in the world can't afford Apple. Get rid of those words. Double connecting words aren't necessary, and also, but also, and even. Check your spelling and your word usage. Avoid bad writing habits, and talk those in a second. I mentioned last week that my pet peeve is small I when it should be a capital I. And again, capitalization for brands, companies, and people, and that's almost it. If you are submitting more than once, I basically always grade the most recent submission. So you don't even have to tell me, please grade the last one. I just do that. And as I said, first paper was only 3 categories. Bad habits are things that I've just talked about. Cliches, wordos, redundant expressions, a new innovation. Would an innovation be old? A necessary need. Past history. History means the past. One of my favorites is free gift. If it's not free, it's not a gift. Superlatives, I talked about, unnecessary adjectives and wordy phrases. Avoid things like everyone in the world, all of mankind. You can't speak for everyone. Double connecting words, and be sure you understand use of apostrophe. It with apostrophe S means it is. Without it, it means belonging to. If your paper is going to be late, be sure you download the assignment before 11:59 p.m. because you can't even unlock the directions after 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. I like this little pictogram because this is one of the things people tend to misspell the most. There with an I is, with the little person as an I, is for people. There with the arrow is a place, and there with the apostrophe means they are. Citations, this is what they should look like. The URL alone is not an appropriate citation or reference. So for this particular video, which is a good one because this is the week that you're going to be doing emotional intelligence, the citation is embedded in the paragraph to show how and where you used it. It would be Goldman, 2007. The reference is listed at the end of the paper or the end of the posting, And here is what the reference would look like for this particular TED Talk. Even if you're earning all the points, there may be suggestions for improvement in the grade report and or the return paper. For papers, I return the paper, download it, look at it, do not make repeat errors. Review them and use the feedback to improve your writing. This is probably the most important suggestion I can make for you in regards to papers. Read your paper aloud before submitting or ask someone else to read it. If you read it to yourself, you read what you think you wrote. If you read it aloud, you will read what you actually wrote, and you're more likely to catch errors and issues if you read it aloud. So obviously, reading it aloud is the best practice. Another best practice is wait for feedback on a paper before submitting the next paper. This week was an anomaly because I basically have 6 classes, or last week was an anomaly. I had 6 classes and 173 students. And as I said, I had these 75-page papers to grade. Most of the time, you will have your feedback from me no later than 3 days after it was submitted. Read the return paper. You go to submission, review, the Dropbox, scroll to the right. You'll see evaluation status, and there's the attachment, and you download the attachment, and you will see that I use the editing tool to make comments. If you do not cite a source in the paper or in your discussion write-up, you can't list it as a reference. The citations and references must match. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a second. Any questions on Module 1? On what was required and the feedback?
No.
Okay, I'm now going to go back. And I'm going to go to Module 2. The quiz locks, 11:59 p.m. on Friday. There's only one chapter this week. Quizzes are always on Friday. Discussion 2.1. You're going to find a relevant and substantive article or video on emotional intelligence. Please do not use Google to find a video. It's not a good way to find a video. Use TED.com rather than YouTube to find videos. The SPC library is a good source for videos. And I just learned this week, based on what some students did, avoid TED.ed and TED Youth. Those are both TED sites, but they are made for school-age children, and they really are not good for college level. So avoid TED.ed and TED Youth. Almost, if it's animated, it's not for college level. Analyze, do not just report on information. What does analyze mean? What does it mean? What are the implications? Are questions you could ask yourself. Discussion 2.2. This is the first part of your class project plan. This is the easiest part. You're just going to be choosing a project. You have to scroll down past discussion 6.1. You will find discussion 2.2. And once you find it, you can open it up to submit your proposal for your project plan. This week, I sent you a list of ideas for choosing a project, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And as I said, it's a 4-part plan. In 2.2, you submit the plan as a discussion question. The draft, and by the way, the responses on these do not have to be 75 words. The draft presentation is due in week 5.2. I have no idea why this course has week 5 goes for 2 weeks. I can't answer that question for you. Your final project written paper is also due in 5.2, and your final presentation is due in Module 6. So this is what I mean by scroll down. You'll see there's discussion 6.1, and you go down past that. You'll see project. It might be collapsed, so you have to use the drop-down menu, and then you can see discussion 2, project proposal. Initial postings due Thursday, replies by Sunday. Several people sent me messages this morning that they couldn't find the project plan. I posted something in class to how you find the project plan. You go to the announcement from Monday. You scroll down as far as you can go, all the way past the information on how to get into the Zoom. And there you have all of the attachments that I sent you this week. I sent you 2 sample papers. One is Pat Pupil and one's Alex Academic. Those are not real people. And they're very different in the approaches they use, but both of them are fine. There's a document called Tips for Earning More Points. There's a document called Choosing the Project. There's a document called Class Project, and line means it's the online class. And then I also sent you screenshots as to how to save the assessments that you're doing for the week 2 paper. So you got to scroll all the way down to find those attachments.
You mentioned that replies don't have to be 75 words. Is there still a minimum for this discussion?
No, because you're really just replying to what somebody's project plan is. So it could just be, I think that you're taking on too much. Think about it. It looks like a really fun project. Those are the kinds of things that you can be doing for this particular one.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to choose a project. You're either going to choose a project or an organization. Some people like to do a project that is not just one organization. You need to find a problem that you are going to recommend a solution. It could be something related to your career or your interests. Consider a business that you think can be helped. A business that is doing really well is probably not the right choice for this project. It's better to find someone who's got inefficiencies, complaints, threats, opportunities, because that makes it much easier for you to recommend solutions. Okay, I think I just did that. You want to pick something that is recent and unsolved. So a place where you worked 5 years ago and they had a problem, that is not the right choice unless they didn't solve it. You have to make sure research is available. You have to research either the company, the issue, or the industry. So you have to make sure research is available, and that means more than having a company website. You want to be using business journal articles from places like Business Week, Forbes, Fortune, Fast Company, Harvard Business Review. You cannot just rely on your personal experience or opinion having worked there. You cannot just speak to people who work there to get their opinion. Go through the entire plan so that you're sure you understand the plan, and you use that plan to help you prepare your discussion. So the proposal, discuss the problem, the issue, the threat, or the opportunity. Share what you're going to research. You're going to research the company, the industry, or the topic. Topics include things like employee retention, the impact of COVID-19, and consider how you will address the needs of the company. That's all you need. This can be bulleted for the discussion question, and it does not need a source. Project proposal, you don't have a solution and you don't have recommendations yet. The recommendations are going to be based on the research. You might be benchmarking an industry or an issue. Use current information. As I said, the problem should be recent and unsolved. Your opportunity is going to be what research is going to be done, how does it benefit the organization? And it has to benefit the organization, not you. Several years ago, I had a student who talked about that people who worked in the restaurant kitchen were underpaid. The entire project was on why he thought he deserved more money. There's absolutely no research except he talked to everyone he worked with and they all thought they needed more money. That is not what I'm talking about for benefit. The benefit has to be to the organization, and you're building the case based on evidence. Posting, identify the company or the issue, the industry, discuss the problem, share what you research, and how are you going to address the needs. That's the entire thing that you need on the posting. It's not very much. So here's examples of issues that you might want to take up for the project. And an issue can either be an issue for one company or you can do the issue in general. I know somebody a couple of years ago did the problem of shortage of nurses. Somebody did one not too long ago on the problem of teachers who were leaving the profession during COVID. You can improve a process, eliminate waste, save time or money, attract or retain new customers or employees, improve their web or social media presence, change the way business is done in the organization. How do you manage in a crisis? How do you increase sales or profitability? Lots of people have done business issues related to the pandemic and the after effects. Could be that company wants to expand globally, they want to enter new markets, or they want to change their marketing. All of those things are potential issues that you could do. Those are not the only issues, they're just a list of things that I created. It doesn't have to be these. The project solutions, it's a new idea. It's not something they're already doing. It benefits the organization, not you. It's got some innovative elements to it. One of your 2 recommendations should be innovative. It should be relevant to the organization and doable. I used to have a project in a marketing class that people could create any brand new project and it didn't have to be doable. This has to be doable. It needs to be creative. And one of the recommendations needs to be unexpected. And again, it's a system solution. It's not personal or not involved in personnel. In other words, you wouldn't make a recommendation that somebody gets fired. For the paper for week 2, there are 3 assessments that you have to complete. Big 5 personality, Myers-Briggs type indicator, and emotional intelligence. You have to save your results, not just for doing the paper, but you're going to need it for the discussion in module 3. And again, if you think you're going to be late, be sure you copy the requirements, including the link to these 3 assessments. You're going to share your assessment results for all 3 assessments. You're going to discuss your own strengths and areas for development. You're going to provide examples of the assessments in the workplace, examine barriers that hinder your effective communication, and develop an improvement plan. So this is what 2 looks like. Those are the 3 assessments. Those are all hyperlinks. This is the Big 5. When it was finished, I clicked on it and you see there's, I highlighted, there's a save as and there's a print. I don't care what you do, either save it or print it so that you have it, so that you can do your module 3 discussion, because it's based on these assessments. It's about 400 to 500 words. I told you there are 2 sample papers. There's instructions and course content. Here's your citation for the textbook and your citation for the reference. Again, I cannot open up discussions after 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. If you have a missed deadline, send it to me via email as an attachment. Do not just look at the points earned, read the feedback, read the rubric and the return paper. And there was a lot of information in this week's Monday announcement, so including your samples for this week. So make sure you look at announcements on Monday. The rubrics, this is what it says in the rubrics. If you want to earn exemplary, show exceptional understanding of concepts, develop ideas and demonstrate clarity, use examples and details, exhibit understanding of concepts, demonstrate that you used evidence, write a logical, well-organized paper, and avoid all of those errors I talked about earlier. Just real brief on module 3, you're going to use the results from the assessments. Be sure you save the results. By the way, these are assessments, not tests. There's a quiz in module 3 on readings and not chapters, and I will be talking about some of the key points next week, and the papers on workplace communications. So, questions? Anything, excuse me, anything you don't understand or need more information about? Vivi, any questions?
No, everything's good, thank you.
Dwight?
No, ma'am, that was pretty cut and dry.
Okay, Peter? take the line off the microphone, Peter. Are you raising your hand, Peter, or does that? Chat, let's see, there's something in the chat. No questions, okay. And Marshall,
Looks good. If anything, I'll just come back to this video if I have any.
okay, yeah, that's
Great.
one of the reasons that I do the video. So it's not only that if people are absent, but if they need more information. Okay, I do have a question for you. Next Tuesday, I have been going to the Straz Theater. I've had season tickets for 25 years, and I have a show next Tuesday night. I can either do Wednesday or Thursday. Since you're here, I'm going to ask you if you have a preference for Wednesday or Thursday. Vivi,
I'll prefer Wednesday.
Marshall,
Wednesday's good.
Dwight,
I have a 6 o'clock class on Wednesday, but I can watch the video.
okay, Peter, no preference, okay, all right. So it looks like it will be next Wednesday from 6 to 7, and then I'll go back to Tuesday after that.
Okay, thank you.
If there, oh boy, if there are no other questions, I will submit the video to all of you either tonight or tomorrow. And I hope this was helpful.
Yes, thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks for coming. I'll stay on till everybody's off, just in case anybody has a question that they don't want to share with everybody else.